Hello, everyone. Chat is working. That is wonderful to see. We fixed that. Hello and welcome to episode 70 of Brews Less Traveled, the podcast exploring the best uncharted beer scenes across the United States. I'm your host, Brian, and I am happy to welcome back my co-host for these Salt Lake City episodes, Molly Sutter. How's it going, Molly?
Pretty great today, Brian. How are you?
I am doing very well. I went to a concert last night, a metal concert. Did not go into the pit, did not get injured, had an excellent time.
Wow, I feel like I'm so proud of you.
I did it.
Yay. And what metal concert did you go to see?
I saw a Swedish death metal band called Meshuggah, which we've actually talked about on the show.
Amazing.
Long time subscribers will remember back in May of this year, we featured a great brewery out of Minneapolis by the name of Falling Knife. And our guest had a sign behind him that had the words Rational Gaze on it, which was the name of their beer, which is also the name of a Meshuggah song, which they played last night. And it was chef's kiss.
So this is like a beautiful full circle moment for you almost.
Yep.
Incredible.
How you doing? You enjoying the fall / pretty much winter weather already here? Do you have your heat on already?
I'm absolutely loving it. No heat. Windows have been open. I have about 3 blankets at my feet. So I'm tempted to turn on the heat, but not quite yet. I'm very much enjoying the crispiness of early fall right now.
We live in quite an old house that was converted into an apartment building, and it was 40 some degrees this morning when I got up in the house. Not in the house, it was 40 some degrees outside. It was 50 some in the house. So I was like, I am turning on the furnace. I don't care.
Flip the switch. That's okay. I had the thought today. Today was the first time the thought actually crossed my brain, but I just grabbed another blanket, called it a day.
I'm even worse. I turned the heat on and I have a space heater under my desk here. I have it off for the audio integrity of the podcast. Laura, don't say I never did anything for you. Yeah.
That's the move though. You have one like right underneath your desk to like point at your legs.
Here, if you listen really closely, I just kicked it over.
Amazing. Yep. That's
not running.
What you want. You're ready.
That isn't a fire hazard immediately. Hello to everybody in the chat. Shout out to our subscribers joining us while we record this podcast. And one more to go to cap off Salt Lake City. So grab your SLUT mugs and bumper stickers. Rub some sandstone dirt on your face and don your best pair of 2 short shorts a la jazz legend John Stockton. And join us as we wrap up SLC. Today, we're featuring the 2 largest breweries in Salt Lake City, Epic Brewing Company and Uinta. I always mispronounce that. We'll get clarification on that tonight.
Well, the best part about it, though, at least, is that we get to enjoy a beer from both of these breweries. So first, we're going to get into the Munich Mayhem from Epic. And then after that, we are going to hit the Lime Pilsner from Uinta. And we're going to be joined by a special guest. But first, you get 2. Ooh. And then, oh no, do you have the Munich?
I do.
All right. Well, since we have that, how about we crack that open?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yes. Very excited.
Marzen, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, we got a Marzen lager. Excellent.
Yes, if you're pretentious, you can call it a Marzen.
Wrong podcast for that. Not today.
This is my favorite seasonal of the year. Technically, a Marzen is a representation of the beer that they brew for Oktoberfest and is typically a little different. But anyways, everybody talks about fresh hop beers in the fall, and there's a lot of hubbub about pumpkin beers, and you can say what you will about those, but I really love when Oktoberfest style fest beer, Vienna lager, whatever you want to call it, comes back around. So very excited for this one.
Cheers. Me as well.
Cheers. Ooh,
Perfect for today.
classic Munich brown lager, ready character. Nice spice coming from the Zaz hops that are in this, and yeah, just everything you want in a fall lager. It's perfect for the 50-degree weather we're having here in Pittsburgh.
I was just going to say this is 100% the beer that I would grab in today in particular. Yeah, the spice notes right off that is getting me right now. This is delicious.
Yeah, and again, shout out to our beer club subscribers. We got this unintended epic hop sticker that you got to go along with your epic beer. Wonderful.
It's an epic day.
Yeah, I'm running out of jokes about the word epic and running out of steam. So I think it's time to get to our guest. Please join us in welcoming the director of marketing at Uinta Brewing Company, Jeremy Worrell.
Hey there. How we doing, guys?
Hey, Jeremy. How's it going?
Good,
Hey,
man.
Jeremy.
Thanks for the epic intro to play along with what you guys got going on there.
I love it.
Yes. How's things going?
It's great. I remembered, I mentioned earlier my trouble with Uinta and Uinta, and I just remembered this amazing phonetic device that I saw on your website that said you can remember it by saying you into beer.
You into beer?
Are you into beer?
Yeah. I always just say, say it how it's spelled. But for some reason, the I in the end get turned around with people, and honestly, it's even happens with locals around here. It was sort of a joke that even people locally mispronounce and misspell Uinta. But yeah, Uinta, UINTA.
Awesome. So let's get into our rapid fire questions. Debuted last week, hot off the presses. A chat. We need a good name for these rapid fire questions. So please offer suggestions. We like puns, but Jeremy, are you ready?
I'm ready. But when we come back, I'll give you guys a brief overview of Uinta and Uinta Mountains and all of that. We can talk about it. It's kind of an interesting mountain range for sure.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Rapid fire questions coming at you before we get to those to the serious part of the interview.
All right, I'm ready to go.
Okay, favorite non-Uinta beer.
Favorite non-Uinta beer.
Yes.
Can I give a craft and a domestic?
Absolutely.
Okay, craft favorite beer goes back to where I kind of discovered craft beer, and that's in Montana. Single malt IPA out of Blackfoot Brewing Company in Helena, Montana.
Okay,
that's my craft.
Okay.
And domestic, I'm a Rainier guy through and through. So I go the Rainier route. Yeah.
Shout out to Washington. We may be talking more about Washington next month.
Sweet.
Hint.
Yeah.
Favorite hop.
Talus, 100%.
Ooh, great.
Fun fact about Talus, we were one of two breweries that were playing with it when it was known as HBC 862, I believe. I might have those numbers wrong. But it was in one of our Crooked Line beers called Test Phase, and fell in love with it then. It was the sole hop in that beer. So it was a single malt or a single hop New England style hazy IPA.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Skiing or mountain biking?
I think lately mountain biking, but I mean, just simply because it's more accessible. Skiing's a full day, especially more and more here in Utah as we've kind of grown population. You got to go further away from Salt Lake if you want to not spend a lot of time in a car or in lift lines, and so it's just more accessible. But on a powder day, skiing 100%.
Full squish or hardtail?
Full squish. Yeah, I'm a Santa Cruz guy for sure.
Oh, fancy. Nice.
Yes. We take it really serious around here. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. It's like one of the few toys I've ever bought myself is a nice mountain bike for sure.
I do not blame you. They make exceptional bikes. Favorite national park?
Out of state, Glacier National Park.
Going non-Utah.
Yeah, I was background. I'm a Montana guy. I grew up in Iowa, but I came of age as a person in Montana. So Glacier National Park has my heart. But local park, I love Zion National Park. It's super unique. It's super overrun. So you want some solitude, Canyonlands is the place to go.
Nice.
That's my spot.
Crown or In-N-Out?
Around here, it's In and Out for me. Yeah, okay. I'm not a Crown guy. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to hear what the other Utah folks said about that. Crown was pretty prominent. I didn't know about it until I moved here. So I think I just had my first experience with In-N-Out.
As I said, we debuted these last week, and our guest had some scheduling issues, so we have not got the access to it.
Oh man, okay, yeah.
Okay.
That's funny. I didn't even know it was a chain until I moved here. I was like, "What is this restaurant that's like looks like a casino?" Because everything in Montana is a casino, and this was like the one place that kind of looked like, "Oh, there should be slot machines there." So,
it looks like home.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, 2 more rapid fire.
Yep.
Czech or German pills?
Oh, German pills.
All right.
Yep.
And the final rapid fire question: have you ever seen a UFO?
No, I've been out and seen weird lights, but I can't say I've seen a UFO. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
You ever bet you go out to Skinwalker Ranch out there?
I haven't been invited yet. But yeah, it was one of the few places on my radar when I moved here. Just kind of knew about it, but yeah, haven't made it out there yet. You're out, you might have a few drinks, you're hanging out with buddies, and someone sees a plane in the sky and freaks everyone out. That's all as far as I could say. But yeah, no UFOs.
Plane.
Yeah. Drones. I would say it was a drone. That's what I would say.
There you go.
Hey.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that was great. I really enjoyed that rapid fire round. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background, how you got started with Uinta, and then still really interested to hear the Uinta pronunciation in the mountain range as well.
Yeah. So real brief on that behind me, obviously. That's the Uinta mountain range just off of the Mirror Lake Highway. It's southeast of Salt Lake. Go up through Park City, and then you end up on a really gorgeous highway and just mountain lakes everywhere and peaks everywhere. So that's a solid spot. So I thought it'd be worth bringing that there. Cool thing about the Uinta Mountains, they are one of the few, I think they're one of 2 north or north south east west mountain ranges. So most mountain ranges are north south. Uinta's actually run east west, so that's why I always like that there. Cool thing about Uinta is it was almost named Great Basin Brewing Company. I'm kind of glad it stuck with that because it feels like it sticks with people because they have to figure out how to pronounce it. So question was, how did I end up at Uinta? Was that sort of?
Yeah, just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started there.
So I worked, went to school in Missoula, Montana, graduated, worked at the university there, just kind of, Missoula is one of those towns it's super hard to find a job. So I just found a job at the university and had decent benefits. And I just was a, skillless recent undergrad. So I just started doing things I was good at. And I started working with the career center there. And so I was doing all these like promos for events, reaching out to employers. So, graphic stuff, working on the website. Basically we were, I was like a Swiss Army knife for them. Moved to Utah, 2013. Lady of mine was going to school here. So I kind of came along, started working at the University of Utah. Same thing, pretty much doing the same thing. I was like kind of like in the trajectory of becoming like a career coach. And then I realized, hey, I'm like prepping these kids and getting them ready and like massaging their resumes to get jobs that are like way better than mine. And I'm like, I can't, so I was like, I got to figure out something else. At that time, I was a like huge craft beer fan. And so I was, Utah was a much different craft scene than even just as far back as 2014, say like 30 less breweries. So there was only a few that actually like hired, like skill position people. So One of the things I picked up in career centers is how to massage and manipulate your resume. So I first interviewed at Uinta to do an HR job, which I was not qualified for, but I did get to the interview round. Didn't get that job for some reason. And then a marketing assistant job came up. Turns out I was the first like actual staff hire in the marketing department here. Prior to that, they just had a single marketing director, and her name is Lindsay Burke. She's been all over the place. She's been at Lord Hobo. She's been at a number of different beverage companies as well. So learned a lot from her, just like picking up things as we went. And it's been a wild ride at Uinta, to say the least, through the years. But started as his first assistant, and now I'm currently running the department.
Wild.
Yeah,
it's awesome. I have a follow-up about you mentioned a story earlier about GABF in one of your first years with Uinta, but I do have to ask.
Yeah,
you were in the career department at the University of Utah around 2013, 2014.
Yeah, at the School of Business specifically. They had their own School of Business. The School of Business had everything kind of their own because they had all the money. So
I have one of my oldest friends, one of my best friends in the world, was at the school for chemistry or microbiology or something. He's way smarter than I'll ever be. And I was just gonna ask if you knew him, because
no, yeah, I had it was all undergrad, like first, second year, trying to set up internships with like places like Goldman Sachs, and I was going to work like whatever, they have the hub here, but I was going to work wearing a shirt and tie every day, and just really wasn't fitting what I was going for, right? So now I go to work with a t-shirt and a hat on sometimes. So.
That's great.
It's the way to do it.
That's not bad. Yeah.
So next week in Denver, when this podcast releases, this week in Denver is the largest beer gathering in the world. Take that back. Largest beer gathering in North America, the Great American Beer Festival. And Jeremy, you had an interesting story about your first year there.
Yeah, so I mean that's like it pains me that we're actually not going to have a physical presence there this year. We just didn't have the resources at the time when registration was coming around. Didn't plan for it to be back, and so that kind of hurts. But I was thinking about that this morning. Is like, because GABF was always such a big deal for us. Specifically, one of my claims of fame is I'm a 2-time winner of best booth at GABF. So I put a lot of work into that. But my first year, we had bought, we sponsored an end cap, so it was a 10 by 20. And basically I was given the task of, hey, let's build a giant forest on our 10 by 20 area, and we're gonna put a trail on there, and we're gonna put a yurt up in there, and we're gonna decorate the yurt as if it's a home that you're living in. And by the way, I had zero stage building or construction.
No yurt, no prior yurt experience.
No prior experience doing that as well. So I just built up the whole trail out of fake trees and brought in built a yurt. And we actually went as far as we had critters in the forest, like an owl, and one specific was a deer decoy that we decoupaged with all of our beer labels. And it built a National Forest wood carving sign. We had a whole photo op location for people to come through, and anyways, it became kind of the talk of the area. We won best booth that year, and then the final night we were going to take a group photo with our deer, which hadn't had a name yet, but it was dear to our heart, is what I kept saying, dear to our heart. And we got there and we turned around and the deer was gone. And so maybe we've had 4 days of GABF in our blood, but we ran all over the place looking for it. Even went as far as went up to the security, and we watched it walk out in the masses at the end of the night on this guy's shoulder. And we even started a wanted in search of combo on the streets. And we started a social media campaign hoping it was another brewery that stole it and we'd get it back, but never found it. But yeah, I think the best part of that is just we have you found it. Yeah, there you are.
Is that it?
That's actually,
oh my God.
That's version 2. That was the next year where we did it outdoor, under the stars. So we used a bunch of blackout material. The one with the yurt right beneath it, you can see it. If you go down on the right, you can see the yurt. Yep, there it is. So there's the deer.
Oh my God.
Dear to our heart, bless him forever. I had no idea where he went. We heard rumors it was someone from another brewery, but we never found it. But yeah, the next year we built a under the stars camp scene inside that tent. We did like blackout and star machines and campfires. But the other side of that is we had the fire department fire marshal show up because we had a smoke machine in our yurt and we were blowing it. Apparently we didn't have the right permit for that. So we got shut down.
Gotta get your smoke machine permits.
I definitely have that story under my belt now, though. For I can build a nice interactive consumer experience. So.
Yeah, just don't ask you to keep track of a deer.
No, I'd love to find out where that went someday. I'm assuming it just like ended up in some dude's hotel room, and he woke up the next morning and like looked across the room. He's like, is that a deer? You know, but it was sweet. Yeah, it took a lot of time to put all those labels on there.
So switching gears here, Uinta uses renewable resources to power the brewery. Can you explain that process further for our listeners and maybe talk about some of the challenges you faced relying on wind and solar?
So, and I think it's, fair to be clear on that. It's like, so in 2001, Uinta became the first company in the state of Utah, actually, and I believe second craft brewery in the nation next to Sierra Nevada to become 100% wind powered. Now, what that means is that our founder at the time, Will Hamill, was basically buying offsets from Wyoming. Now, the brew house, I believe it was in 2012, was our Browcon brew house. I think it was actually installed 2012, commissioned 2013. That is actually powered by the solar panels on the brew house and our steam recapture system for the boil and all of that. So everything is 100% renewable energy footprint. We just recently were awarded by Blue Sky Association for our involvement in that program because it was very new at the time. As we said, we were the first company in the state of Utah to actually be 100% renewable energy. And, that comes at a significant cost, but it was all to reduce our footprint.
That's awesome.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. So, and you're the director of marketing. Oh, go ahead. What else?
No, I was saying, hence the Earth, Wind, and Beer, right? That was a huge part of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. No, well, we are just gonna ask, like, you're director of marketing for this brewery here. You guys have been here in business now for nearly 30 years. How do you keep the marketing initiatives, fresh and exciting?
I was thinking about that, and you really just got to find those angles, especially as a 30-year brewery, because you're right in this. We've been talking about it now for 2 or 3 years. That we're right in that sweet spot of we're old enough to play the vintage, throwback card, but we also are continuously innovating and releasing new beers and doing new things. So it's trying to find that toe in the line there between the two of them. So I think that's one. And it's just, you got to keep it fresh, keep it innovative. And what for us is we're always looking to do things and associate with things that I always say are beer adjacent. Whereas, Uinta, gosh, it was probably 2014, 2015, right around I started, was where we really started like adopting more of the lifestyle, outdoor ethos, Utah centered branding, which now has been, adopted by so many other companies as well. So now it's like trying to carve through that, it was like part of one of our original identity and really was what built the brewery and the people that work here. But now it's trying to find, what's the bridge as Salt Lake builds up. Salt Lake has a huge alternative scene, a huge skate scene. We call it kind of punk outdoorism for Salt Lake. And so trying to adopt that, but also, for me, I try to maintain a little bit of maturity as the brand as well. Like it's easy to chase puns and, kind of like go for some gimmick stuff, follow whatever social media trend is happening. And I try not to do that unless it fits the brand. And, that works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. I think the other thing for us as a distribution company is also, there's the consumer side of things. So keep your messaging, relevant. we have a TikTok account, right? We do all of those things. But we also, we're expanding to different activities, different organizations. So a lot of outdoor companies, and like we do events with those. Like we're trying to actually plan a very like inclusive like weekend of yurt trips or ski cat stuff like that, just to try to keep people active and keep people like ingrained with our brand and drink beer along the way. But where I was going with that is, there's also the wholesaler side, which is our primary customers, is we serve our wholesalers, and they are a network of, this is how we've always done it, and this is, you do this programming in Q1, this and that, right? And that works, and it's been that way for a while. But I try to find different angles and different POS and things programming wise to give our wholesalers, to keep us relevant in their mind, because if we're not first and foremost in their mind, we're not first and foremost in our consumers' mind.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Got to play ball with the wholesalers.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's take a beer break and talk about the Family History Library. The Family History Library is a genealogical research facility located in Salt Lake City and contains the largest collection of genealogical records in the world. What does that mean? That means they have more information on the history of families than anyone else. And thankfully, they offer access to these records to the public free of charge. Think of it as the analog precursor to sites like Ancestry.com or 23andMe. Anyone can visit the library and research their own family history. The library includes a digital collection of over 2.4 million rolls of microfilm containing various records of 11.5 billion people from over 200 countries. Although founded by the Church of Latter-day Saints and originally intended for use only by its members, it has since developed into one of the greatest resources for any individual looking to research their own family history. They even offer research assistance in 30 languages. The Family History Library is located in Temple Square in downtown Salt Lake City, but the records can also be accessed online at familysearch.org. Now, let's get back to the show. So I think it's a good time to open up Uinta beer. Let's get into this lime Pilsner.
I was already there. I cheated. I jumped in early. So
that's totally fine. What would you like to tell us about this beer?
Man, where to start? I walked around today and was like, hey, I'm going to be chatting about lime Pilsner, and the overall, just overarching opinion about this is, I think the best summation of it was it's the anytime, anywhere, any season pounder for people. I think Lauren Lurch, who she runs all of our brewing operations, she called it the pizza bagel bites of beer, which is, I think the commercial was anytime, anywhere, any season or something like that. I remember how she said it.
You can eat pizza anytime.
Yeah, exactly, right. So I think for that, it was, simple beer in the sense of, you know exactly what you're getting when you drink it. But for me, it's my golf course beer. It's my ski lift beer. It's my end of day beer. I drink it when I'm eating. It just really does kind of pair with everything. And that's, kind of was the idea behind it. The interesting thing about lime Pilsner was it was definitely our most thought out and most, studied to death brand release that I've ever been a part of. And that goes all the way back, started in 2016. And, we're talking local panels of taste testers, friends, family, target consumers, and multiple R&D batches to try to get this right, because we really just didn't want it to be like, oh, well, we made Bud Light Lime, but craft, right? And at the time, I claim this, we hit it before Pilsner and Lager got real popular in craft beer. Like if you look back, 2018 was when like Solid Gold from Founders came out, and I feel like our internal taste buds were already migrating away from IPA, which is really what Uinta's so well known for. So that was a huge target for us as well. And I think you look back at it, I think we released this March 2017, which is exactly when Dogfish released Sea Quench. So I always look at, some of the bigger dogs in the industry, and I'm like, okay, we hit the same notes they did. We must be in the right path, I guess. So.
It's a pretty good industry touchstone to get to be right
Yeah.
in step with
Mhm.
Dogfish Head. You know, the people
Yeah.
that had a show on the Discovery Channel in 2015 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's funny. It was such a new world for me because we had it was, you know, usually it would be we release a beer, we take a picture of it, it goes out, you know, but this was the much larger release for Uinta. You know, we had, you know, large scale release meetings with our wholesalers, but we were also like really filling the market up with, you know, press kits. We had large chain displays, on-premise programming. So it was really sort of my initiation to that side of the business, because at the time I was just doing events and social media, right? So it was kind of the first like business side for me personally as well.
Yeah.
But the cool part also about this beer is it spawned two other beers, the liquid, through the R&D process. One was a line extension for this beer. It's called Mango Lime Pilsner. Had mango in it. But then for the longest time, our cellar and brewers would brew the base beer slightly different for Lime Pilsner, and they just did it for themselves. And it was just like a real classic base lager. And now it is our fourth best selling beer in Utah. It's known as a Los Angeles craft beer, just calling it beer flavored beer, as we always say. But that's sparked that beer as well. So this one had a pretty far reaching effect.
Amazing. It's
Los
incredible.
Angeles. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Right there.
Yeah. So, and I think a note for that, Los Angeles won gold at the International Beer Awards up in Idaho Falls, which is probably one of the more prominent medal award ceremonies for the Pacific Northwest brewers specifically.
Yeah.
We won gold in American Standard Lager with Los Angeles, which basically is based on the base beer for Lime Pilsner.
Wow.
Los Angeles is in like the Wasatch
Mountains and the influx of lots of people. We've dubbed it locally as Los Angeles. So yeah.
Oh,
I love it.
We're all coming to terms with that right around here right now. So
there you go. Well, there's been like a lot of talks, you know, about the state itself, and we've discussed this, you know, on the show previously, but about increasing the ABV limit for draft beer. You know, it previously has gone from the 3.5 to 5. What other steps do you think could be easily taken to kind of help ensure the growth of Utah's beer scene, whether it be increasing the ABV or other things along that line?
Yeah, I said this while it was happening. So it was weird. Utah does it. The state officially tracks alcohol content by alcohol by weight. So it's 3.2, but it actually translated to 4% ABV. So we went from 4% to 5%. Okay. Now, someone should have had TV cameras and like made a documentary on the process of that when that happened, because it was just a chasm of emotions from there's, you know, the side of people that didn't want to see an increase in beer because we've never had it that way. And then the side of people who wanted everything to be lifted completely. And then you had wholesalers and retailers having their own opinions. And then all of the social media chatter that surrounded that. It was a very emotional time in Utah. Debating about 1% ABV, right? So that was great.
Perspective.
Worked. Like it definitely, like, what I liked about it was that, you know, we saw a little bit of an increase. Brewers could move things around, but then everyone just went straight to 5%. Like every beer on draft, every beer in the grocery stores was suddenly a 5% beer. There's really no nuance, right? Between 4.5, 5, like it was just 5%. That's since changed. I think everyone sort of freaked out and thought people had to go that route. So that was a big push, because I think it did open the doors for some other out-of-state craft breweries. But personally, I'd like to see it lifted entirely, just for, you know, strength of, you know, just competition, obviously, but also like, you know, it would allow us to showcase some of our higher ABV beers which are great, awesome beers that have limited space to sell in our home market, because either it comes straight out of our bottle shop or it goes out of the state-run liquor stores. And usually those are not cold stored. So the state-run liquor stores, they're doing what they can. They're starting to build new liquor stores, starting to build, you know, and including cold storage there. That was newsworthy as well, which is kind of funny. But I think besides, you know, lifting that entirely, I'd love to see, access to the market from the out-of-state brewers and ourselves to that world of higher ABV beer. So right now we don't have those specialty bottle shops, which were huge and, fundamentally like a huge part of growing craft beer for people when it was really taking off, was like, I can go try this one. I can go try this one. You can do that at state-run liquor store, but it's just, the tape was a little harder to access, I guess, for some brewers, so they don't bother coming here. And so I think having that access for them would be awesome. And then other than that, I think, just continue to capitalize on the local pride and Utah craft beer scene. When I first moved here, when I moved here in 2013, there was, the people, there's definitely evangelists for Utah beer, but there's also a lot of comparing and nitpicking. Is like, well, where I grew up, we had this and this is so much better. And, I went to school here and now I'm back and that, you know what I mean? Like that's fine. A lot of the times that's real, but it's also at the same time, it's like, I want to hear more pride in it locally, I guess. And so, and like I said, it's definitely growing exponentially. We're with 30 new breweries in the last like 2 or 3 years. There's been some really good brewers coming out. You had Epic on, you've had Shades on. I don't know if you guys had TF Brewing, Fisher. There's just a lot of great brewers coming out. And the cool part is a lot of them used to work at Uinta. I sometimes call it University of Uinta.
Brewery.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. We not to get into the regulations and the licensing involved with doing this podcast, but we're limited in the breweries that we can work with often because it does take certain licensing and following certain regulation. We had not only our choice from the number of breweries producing quality beer, but the number of breweries that had that proper licensing that wanted to do something like this. So like, I hate the comparison thing too. You know what Salt Lake City's beer scene is like? It's like Salt Lake City's beer scene. It's uniquely Salt Lake City. There's aspects of it that remind me of other beer scenes, but it's unique in its own way. The same way the city is unique. Like
totally. Yeah. It's the way I look at it is, it's just a lot of us were, I guess maybe I look at living in Missoula for a decade. And, when I first moved there, I didn't know what a growler was. My access to craft beer was Fat Tire, and Boulevard Wheat.
Cold Smoke?
Cold Smoke was Kettle House, the K-hole, we called it. Cold Smoke was was definitely my go-to when I moved there. But, then you move away and you're like, you kind of took for granted those like little small tap rooms. And then right around 2016, 2017 is when those started to open up around here. It's just, that influx of people is great. And I just think, and I totally get it. That outside influence is building it what it is today. But I mean, we definitely have, some really top quality brewers here. If you look at the number of high of medal counts, for example, of like high level competitions, Utah has a huge amount of medals from like some of these original brewers. Red Rock, who made brewers now running TF, and Uinta as well, highly decorated. Easier to win medals back then, but still, you know what I mean. Like we definitely were well decorated, and I would also say is I don't know if anyone's brewing as good as session strength beer as we are, and that's just because we were forced to do it for so long. So
that's a very good point.
Yeah.
So earlier this year, Uinta was acquired by US Beverage. What has that meant for Uinta as a company, and how have things changed since January?
Yeah. I've been around ownership changes, but I'm still friends with and see the founder of Uinta. Now he's since no longer involved. He's, doing what he wants to in life, having fun for the rest of us sinners, right? That's what I would say. But Will's a great guy. It's for me, the difference between prior ownership, where I had, a little more high level exec experience, board meetings and quarterly reports, things like, things that come along with real business and, that you don't think about all the time when you think about craft beer. It's fun, right? But we had those things, especially with ownership. And this change with US Beverages is that it's super refreshing because they're beer people. Not only like the financial side of them, but the people who own it. It's for those who don't know, US Beverage is an importer exclusive importer for like Moosehead Lager, Czech Bar Pilsner, Bud Bar, I guess. I've learned they're not allowed to call it Bud Bar in the US, but Czech Bar Pilsner, Superior, Dragon Stout. They bring in Heineken products, so they do a lot. So they understand, the ups and downs and the raw materials and like when we're comparing numbers, if we're looking at Q1 2021, they know what's going on Q1 2022. Not saying that we're having issues, but you know what I mean? Like they see everything from that higher level view. They see it from just like, I guess, as an insider of beer, and they also love beer. They know the wholesale network, and it's been a really nice change. And as 2020 hit, we lost our out-of-state sales team. They come to us now with a 30+ person sales team that we can slowly start to rebuild and re-expand our market outside of the Intermountain West, which is where we're pretty much limited to right now.
Nice. We touched on this kind of earlier too, but beer marketing overall essentially relies on some sort of customer interaction, at least to a certain extent here, right? Do you have a favorite customer interaction story from the past?
Yeah, it's funny is you brought up the show you went to last night. I was also it's couldn't be any different of a band, but it's those out of state experiences, right? That like when you're not ready for it. I was up in George, Washington at the Gorge in Washington at a run of Fish concerts. You guys are from the East Coast. You guys know Fish.
Nice.
So I was up there. It was sort of a friends and family reunion every time they're up there with my friends from Montana, and but I think this was in like 2016, 2017. I can't remember. And we are down for the first night. We're down pretty close front center, and this guy turns around and he's wearing not like a Uinta Hop Notch shirt or a Detour shirt brand shirt, but he was wearing like a Dickies work shirt, which he had to go out of his way to get it. And my friends who had overserved themselves and who knows what else they were doing, they're like, hey, he works at Uinta. And this guy like had that moment, right, of like, oh my God. And again, who knows what he was up to as well that night. But he had a love affair with the brand, and it was just a really cool thing of like when you weren't expecting it. So that's always like one of my favorite parts. I had another experience similar to that at Red Rocks outside of Denver. I walked into the bathroom and there were like 3 younger dudes shotgunning Hop Nosh that they had snuck in. And that one I didn't hide. I was like, I don't know if I should be proud of you guys or if you're going to get us in trouble and forever banned from this venue. But I tried to get one from them, but they only had one apiece. But yeah, so I mean, there's those. And then, just all in all, like, I've had my hands on the brand for so long and been involved with so much, and from the brand partnerships and events, and like our national parks Golden Ale series that we did, where I got to travel around and make cool videos in the national parks and camp, and so I mean, cool. All in
no
all,
complaints
lots
there,
of
huh?
good times.
Yeah, wow.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
there's so much I want to follow up on. Montana rolls, Missoula rolls.
We're gonna need part 2, I think.
Nice.
Could talk about the K-hole. Shout out to Al Pills, friend of the podcast.
Nice. Oh yeah, I love man. Double Hall IPA was my first love, and anyone who's associated with the Kettle House, if you're watching or here, that's like, I love you, but Single Malt by Blackfoot is like their nemesis in the draft world in Montana. So I hate to say it. I was talking to their owners once, and accidentally they asked me what my favorite beer was, and I said it, and you could just see it like, oh great, another one. But
that's the skew that keeps taking all our spots.
Exactly. Yeah. You see it from their angle now that I've lived in that world. So
yeah. So to wrap up here with one final question, what is one thing that you wish Salt Lake or Utah in general was more well known for?
Well, to borrow a phrase from the locals, Utah sucks, don't move here. No, I'm kidding. The famous t-shirt line locally. Shout out to those guys. Look him up on Instagram. He's got a whole line of apparel. Utah sucks, don't move here.
Great.
But I think, honestly, I want people to know it's not nearly as culturally uptight as you might see it being portrayed in either, the LDS faith. That's, obviously headquartered here, and the reason Utah is what it is now. But also the politics. I mean, everywhere has crazy politics anymore, it seems. So I'm just, it's Utah. It's it's a population of people that literally were driven here, by the US government, driving them out because of polygamy or something. But, the fact that, I could see them maybe being weary of government, right? But not saying that's right, my world, but yeah. I just I try to look at it with an open mind. You know what I mean? Like, I moved here.
You can see their perspective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think, most of the people here, super friendly, well-educated people. It's one of the few places in the world that you can wake up in an urban environment, go up to the high alpine, go skiing, and then if you leave early enough, you can be, camping in the desert amongst, giant red rock walls. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome. But I think, the other thing that I think that I'd want, more well known for is the issues with the Salt Lake, which is super important. Like that's growing. So I think, when you thought of that, actually the first thing that came to mind was that I will hope more people know that the lake is drying up due to climate change and drought, and it's a huge problem. It's a ticking time bomb, literally, of noxious gas, and it's going to take more than a state level of cooperation to get it done. So spread the word. We need to save the Great Salt Lake.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
So thanks for joining us, Jeremy. As I alluded to earlier, I do have 2 lime pills here.
Hey, nice.
I am going to crack a second one. While I do what I'm doing here, Jeremy, can you anything to plug for Uinta? Where can folks find Uinta beer throughout the mountain area? Plug.
Yeah. So
cheers.
Uinta is cheers. We're entering our 30th anniversary this year. It's been the
incredible.
The
Congrats.
It's been the theme of the ABP season, which is the fall, with our wholesalers and retailers, and so lots of programming there. I'd say really just follow us on social at Uinta Brewing. Hit our website, uintabrewing.com. Our beer finder is run through Vermont Information Processing, so you can find every account that we're in within 24 hours. I believe it updates every evening. Out of state, with I'd say be patient, because we're starting to re-expand with our new partnership and ownership with US Beverage. So we're seeing all that there, but really, just watch for one specifically. We're doing a bucket list road trip giveaway, to cross-channel promotion next year, which will be, so watch our socials, give us a follow. It's a, scan to win, enter to win, no catch. You can win a trip for 2 to Salt Lake, where we'll then outfit you with a camper van with some of our friends from the local adventure tourism, and then send you on a stipend road trip to 3 national parks of your choice and go explore Southern Utah. And we're partnering with backcountry.com to load them up with gear, and obviously we'll have plenty of beer to give you.
Are you going to be building them one of the yurts? I think that should be included.
Yeah, I should, right? Yeah. No. I'm gonna let someone else build the camper van. I've tried to renovate a truck camper, and I'm not great at that. So I think the only other thing is really for me is Utah. Uinta is Utah, is how I always say, and we are constantly working with the local community and working on sustainability initiatives, but also just supporting local causes. And we have a huge budget for those things, and it's near and dear to our hearts to come visit us in Utah.
Amazing.
That's so awesome. Yes, go visit them. Go visit Salt Lake City. Yeah. Molly, it's been wonderful co-hosting with you this month, and talking about Salt Lake City, featuring these breweries. Final thoughts?
Oh, this was so much fun. I'm weirdly sad all of a sudden. Would love to come back. But yeah, echoing everything Brian said. I mean, Salt Lake is incredible. Super happy to be a part of this month's podcast. I just recently kind of fell in love with Salt Lake, and love telling everyone and anyone I know about it, especially its incredible beer scene. And I cannot think of a better last episode to have talking about Salt Lake here. So Jeremy, thank you very much. And Brian, thank you as well.
Can I add, when you do come to visit Utah, we have a pub in the airport. So if you come into B Gates, hit our pub either on your way in or on your way out, or as I always said before we had the airport pub, is we're either your first or last stop when you come to Utah. Now that's either you come to our brewery because we're literally 5 minutes from the airport, load up your rental or whatever and ask for me. My office is literally right up above the host stand. I'll come say hi, and then or come spend your layover in our pub and grab a quick Uber, 5-minute Uber from there. During the wintertime, the amounts of ski bags and snowboard bags you see in the lobby is pretty humorous at times. Like, oh, there's a lot of outbound flights today. So yeah, come see us. Yeah,
that's great. I love Salt Lake. I was out there. Oh my God. When Jeremy started working at Uinta was the last time I was out there. 2013. I proposed to my wife in Arches. I had a wonderful week out there. I fell in love with it back then, and I was so happy to return to it to do some research for this podcast. And we say this with every city we visit because we feature just great cities, because there's so many great cities around the United States that have great beer scenes and great outdoor scenes and great things to visit and unique cultures in their own feel. But Salt Lake City is very unique. You need to get there. You need to see this beautiful, clean, pristine metropolitan area, just surrounded by some of the most pristine, beautiful wilderness you're going to see in the United States. So, cannot recommend Salt Lake enough. And that's going to do it for us. Like Jeremy said, you follow Uinta on Instagram at Uinta Beer. Was that what it was?
At Uinta Brewing.
At Uinta Brewing. Thank you for the correction there. Follow them there, and certainly keep a lookout for that competition. I'm at a loss for words. I chugged that lime Pilsner, and my brain's just not working anymore.
It's all good. It's just a consumer giveaway. We'll be doing a lot of programming, giveaways and whatnot, just for the 30th anniversary. With a in planning 2-day music extravaganza at the brewery that we're trying to work on with a local brand called Cool, which is the KUHL Cool clothing product. Good friends of ours here. It's a great part about living in Utah and Salt Lake is there's so many cool brands that are headquartered here. So yeah, got some things in the plans for them.
Very, very cool. Thanks to Epic and Uinta for supplying beers for this episode, and thanks to all our Salt Lake City featured breweries this month. Shout out to Saltfire, Bewilder, Shades, Epic, and Uinta. We couldn't have made this happen without our brewery affiliates. You can follow us on social media at Brewvana. Make sure to head over to brewvana.com as well. Lots of great stuff over there, including the beer club. You could help support this show by joining the beer club, and you get to enjoy the same beers that we're featuring on the podcast every week. We ship them directly to you. It's super awesome. You get beers that you often cannot get unless you go directly to the brewery. So check out the beer club. It also helps keep the lights on at this podcast. Literally keeping the lights on. Visual gags. Also check out the 12 beers of Christmas and the Hoppy Hanukkah holiday boxes. Lots of fun coming up for our holiday season to cap off 2022. And another shameless self plug, watch Next Exit on Untapped's YouTube channel. We had a lot of fun shooting that show. My Cincinnati episode comes out the day before this podcast gets released, October 4th. It's already out by the time this podcast gets released, so check that out. I hope everybody has a fun time enjoying that show. I also think I can create an IMDb page now, which is a weird excitement.
I think you can. Yeah.
I think I can. I wonder if I should get a SAG card too.
I think so. Yeah.
Go
for it. Yeah. You reminded me. We actually have a web series episode on Uinta coming out next week.
Plug it.
Yeah. What do you got?
I literally the email came in while we were chatting this morning. Glass Half Full. It's a digital series You have to look for it on YouTube. It's from Consensus Digital Media, and it's all about sustainable brewing in the beer industry. And they did a highlight on Uinta back in May, and it's ready to roll. So Wednesday, October 5th is when that'll drop. Just look for Glass Half Full on YouTube.
Beautiful. The
Awesome.
same day this comes out. Look, we got a whole day of programming for you. Listen to this episode. The day it comes out, watch Next Exit, and then watch Uinta, all on YouTube. You can catch it all in one place. Good stuff. Anyways, we'll be back next week with our next featured city. Yakety yak, don't come back. That's the only reference I have for you. I'm super excited for that city.
I think I know it.
Because it's sneakily, the city has played a role in every month of Brews Less Traveled up until this point. Tune in next week to find out what role they've played, and can't wait for that reveal. But until then, stay safe, be kind, and support local breweries, everybody. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Bye,
Thanks, guys. A
guys.
lot of fun. This was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Brews Less Traveled on YouTube. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more interviews with brewery professionals.